Hey there, beautiful soul, and welcome back to the Her Best Self podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Nickel. And if this is your first time here, I just want to say welcome over and over to our recovery family. This show's for you, sis, if you are ready to break free from the mental prison of that eating disorder hell that you find yourself living in and step into the freedom that you were made for. Today's episode is super close to me because I want to share something with you that I've been dreaming about for a really long time now. That's the Recovery Collective. And I've talked about it in a previous episode, but I just didn't give it enough juice. So today we're going to talk about the Recovery Collective. But first, I want you to hear from some incredible women who remind all of us why recovery is so worth fighting for. I'm going to share a couple of clients' words just for you, friend, so that you can be reminded that you are never alone. Let's do this. Hey girl, welcome to the Her Best Self podcast. I'm Lindsay Nickel, former competitive figure skater and perfectionist, turned God-led imperfect boy mom and digital CEO. If you find yourself constantly thinking about food and wondering if you'll wake up one day free from the obsessive thoughts and behaviors controlling your life, then I've created this podcast for you because I know exactly what it's like to be a downright hot mess trapped in the destructive cycle of disordered eating. I finally found freedom, and you can too, girlfriend. So if you're ready to heal your relationship with food and body and break the chains of control and show up in your best health, then grab your favorite Tarjay journal and let's get to it so you can start living your best life as your best self. So let me share some words from women that are just like you, women who've been in the thick of it. So one of my clients, she recently sent me this note. I've had a 20 plus year history with eating disorder and disordered eating behaviors. And I've been back and forth all over the place, going through outpatient therapy, back in the mental prison, and I've never been so depleted. And it was so important to me to be healed, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, so that I could be a good example to my daughter and be an example of a mom who isn't insecure and operating out of fear. Not only did I work with this client to help translate her fear-based mindset into a recovery and thriving and love and a love-based mindset, and not only is she setting such a gentle, incredible tone with her daughter, but she's able to share ice cream with her daughter. She's able to have cookies with her daughter. She's looking forward to Halloween with her daughter. Like, the list goes on and on. And she did this. She showed up, she put in the work. But when she first came to me, she thought that it just wasn't going to be possible for her because she had tried all the things and she obsessed over weight and over her health. And together we were able to create this beautiful plan for her and a toolbox for her to be able to get her to where she wanted to be in her life. And not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, and ridding those old rules and those old behaviors. And so I just wanted to share an example of a client that I have recently had the honor to work with. Another client says this: I have obsessed about my health and my weight for years. It literally was difficult to get through the day without having anxiety attacks about food. But she started seeking out support because she recognized that she didn't want to do this alone anymore. And she had a dietitian, she had additional support with weight restoration and accountability, but she knew that she needed more than just her husband and her close circle of family that knew what was going on in her life. Because she said, my time is running out and I want to be better. I want to use it wisely. We were able to come up with strategies and tangibles and partner together to get her operating in a place of empowerment, not in this place of isolation that she had been for years, but in a place of like, I get to show up for my family. I get to experience love. I get to work with somebody that's been there and done that. It can help me with accountability for my own self so that I can learn how to live and how I can learn to not be chained and controlled by the thoughts in my mind. And if you're listening and you're thinking, gosh, that sounds exactly like me. Oh, sis, just welcome in. Welcome in. I wish I could give you a hug right now. These women, they rated their urgency for support a 9 or a 10 out of 10. And they tried therapy. They tried all the things. They worked with professionals. They knew all the right things to do, but something was still missing. Here's what I've learned about supporting so many women in their recovery journey. The missing piece, it isn't more information. It isn't more information. It's working with somebody who sees you and hears you and can shed some light and can give you some pep girl energy. And it's also being in a community that's going to lift you up, whatever that means for you. You probably know more about nutrition than most dietitians do. You understand the science behind hunger cues and meal plans. But if you're like most of the women who find me, you've been fighting this battle for a really long time, 10, 20, even 40 years. And beautiful one, you weren't meant to do this. You just weren't meant to do it all on your shoulders. Often why solo recovery fails is, just think about it. Eating disorders, they thrive in that isolation and they whisper lies like no one else is going to understand, or I'm the only one who is struggling with this, or I should be so over this by now. If people only knew who I really was, then they wouldn't approve of me. But here's the truth. Isolation is fuel, and community is recovery fuel. And getting supported to actually do the thing is fuel on fuel. And I see this pattern quite consistently. A woman will commit to recovery, she'll start making some progress, and then she'll hit this challenging day. And because she has been doing it by herself for so long, then that kind of spirals back into these old patterns and behaviors. But this isn't because she lacks willpower or commitment. It's because she lacks support. She lacks a system around her that reminds her who she's becoming when she cannot remember who she's becoming herself. Research shows us that support, that's connecting with others who truly understand our experiences, is one of the most powerful predictors of lasting recovery. Sis, when you're surrounded by somebody who gets it, when you're surrounded by somebody who can lift you up, who's been there, who understands the struggle, who can remind you that recovery is possible because they are living that possibility, then everything changes for you because you stop playing in the victim mentality. You stop feeling like you're the only broken one. I remember thinking like I was the broken color in the crayon box. But you start seeing your struggle as part of a journey. And it's not evidence of failure. It's just an ongoing journey. And what happened for me is I began to believe that if she could find freedom, maybe I could. And then I started little by little to take one step. And I wasn't having to try to figure out the steps. I could just follow the path that somebody else laid out. And maybe I would miss a couple steps. Maybe I wouldn't need a couple steps. Maybe I could go over here and do another little workaround to get my own way forward. No two paths are the same. But if you're having those difficult days where food thoughts are overwhelming, instead of white knuckling it all by yourself, you can send a quick message out to somebody who's there to support you. Or you can be in a community of women, which is why I want to talk a little bit about the Recovery Collective, who can remind you of your strength, sharing what's helping in a moment and holding space for the struggle. And that's what's so cool about the privilege. And I call it a privilege because every single client I know is not a coincidence. Like God literally lifted them up and sent them over to me. And if you aren't a client yet, but you're feeling that calling on your heart, I truly believe it's not a coincidence, even that you're listening to the show. And I talk about that sometimes in my show. But I feel like sometimes you just need to be, I don't want to say like hit upside the head, but you finally need to have a moment in time where somebody holds space for your struggle and then tells you, okay, friend, like get up. Now it's time to get up. Like you're allowed to sit in it. And then you're allowed to go, you know what? I'm no longer going to sit in it. I want you to just think about what it would look like to feel neutral around food, where you could eat with what sounds good or with what your family wants or with where your friend wants to go out for dinner without second guessing every single bite of that. And instead of keeping that victory to yourself, which is something that I did for a really long time in my recovery, like I would be happy at myself and then mad at myself and happy at myself. You get to share that with somebody else. You get to share these monumental, because they are, moments. And you get to celebrate them like you just climbed Mount Everest, because in your recovery journey, you basically did, okay? And that's the power of doing this work together. That's the power of the work. For over a year, I've been dreaming about creating a space where more and more women could feel supported. A place where women in every phase of recovery, whether you're just recognizing that you're struggling and you're looking for other community like-minded people, or you've been fighting for decades and you're a current client, or maybe you're just interested in becoming a client, where we can get together in a small room and remind each other that freedom's possible and that dream is finally becoming reality. And here's the proof. And so I sat by for some time where I only offered one-on-one private support, because I felt like that was the calling. That was everything behind the mission, because I truly believe that you need that level of support to get to a breakthrough. But I also kept pushing down this nudge in my heart of wanting to do a support group because of all these experts saying why it wouldn't work. And so I decided not to do it, in full transparency. But lately it's been that calling again, and it keeps coming up, and I've talked to some of my clients about it. And so here we are, we're doing this. I'm beyond excited to bring the Recovery Collective to light. This is a totally informal, bi-weekly virtual support group where like-minded women can gather together to share wins, to navigate challenges, to build freedom together, to talk about what our best self is, to literally ask all the hard questions. And it's not just any other group. It is a small group of intimate women. I'm going to be there to guide our conversations, but it's where the real magic happens behind the scenes and where you're building connection with other people. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about all of it. How to handle triggering social situations, what to do when the food thoughts feel so overwhelming, celebrating those small victories that other people might not even think are victories, supporting each other through the setbacks, and building practical strategies for your daily life. Because this is the thing, I could have talked all day, and my therapist helped me so much to an extent, because I could just brain dump on her, and she would give me thoughts, and she'd give me encouraging questions, and she'd give me certain things to take back and reflect on. But what I couldn't do was bump something up against somebody else that had been to where I was in that day. And in that day, it felt so crazy. For an example, when I started increasing my food intake, it felt so overwhelming. I knew I wanted to do it because I wanted to get better, but it felt so overwhelming because that fear of gaining weight was so overwhelming to me. And she didn't get it. Nobody got it. What I want you to know is whether you're just starting to recognize these patterns or you're actively working your life away from an eating disorder, or you're maintaining it even. If you're a past client that has graduated our time together, but you're I would like to not let go. I would like to be held accountable. This is what I've learned. Each and all of us at every stage of this journey can use somebody else. The women just starting recovery need to see that freedom is possible. The women in early recovery need accountability and encouragement. The women in long-term recovery, you need community too. And every single story becomes a beacon of hope for other people along the journey. So here is where it gets super exciting. I'm sharing more about it today on the show because I'm looking for incredible women to join me as founding members of the Recovery Collective. You're not just going to be the first members, even though you are, but you are going to help frame up this mission, this community from the very beginning. Because I don't know where this thing is going to go, but I do know that God's placed it on my heart. And so if you are yes, Lindsay, I want to be a part of that, and you're tired of fighting this battle by yourself, you want connection, you might be a little bit scared because you're I don't want to be judged by other people. But guess what? Everyone's going to be feeling that. You want to be part of something bigger. And maybe you're just stepping your ankle in to see how it is to invest in yourself. Our very first session is going to be in October. And I literally cannot wait to meet every single person that joins us. And we have ladies that have already signed up. I'm super excited for you to do the same. If you're interested, come on out to herbestself.co recovery collective. You can fill out the form there, input your info. It's $47 a month. You will not be disappointed. I tend to over deliver. And if you're sitting there thinking, this is what I've been looking for, I want you to go out and take action on it. It literally takes a couple of minutes and I will send over follow-up for you. Right now, we're trying to figure out like when is the best time and it works for everyone. We are going to include you in that process. Here's what I know to be true. Your recovery isn't solo. You're meant to do this surrounded by people because other people, sis, can see your worth on days where you don't. This is so much more than a support group. It's your recovery family. And I just want to say, welcome home, sis. I want you to know today whether the recovery collective is for you or not, or whether working personally with a recovery coach, me or someone else, is for you or not. You deserve to understand that you are not broken. You're not that broken crayon, and your recovery matters. Every single step that you take towards creating the best self for yourself creates a pathway for someone else to follow behind you. I never in a million years would have told you that 15 years after recovering from my anorexia, I would be helping other women in all different countries do the exact same thing. I would have said, shut the front door. That is so not reality. Because I hid in my story for such a long time. I was ashamed of it. But here's the thing. I know there are so many women out there that need to hear these things. When I speak them over and over, every single time I do that and I create that vulnerable connection with you, I let a part of me enter into a part of you where it's like, I tell my clients all the time, don't give yourself permission, take mine for you. I have so much permission for you. And there were so many days I just needed somebody to give me that. I needed somebody to say, like, you get to choose you. You get to eat this. You get to gain weight even. Like, I had to get to the point where I needed to take on somebody else's permission because I wasn't giving that to myself. And so, friend, here's your permission. I see you. I love you. And stay tuned for this Friday's episode. I'm going to have a wonderful guest. I cannot wait to introduce you to her. But friend, until next time, keep choosing your very best self. I love you, girl. Bye for now. Oh, friend, thank you so much for letting me share what was on my heart today. My hope for this podcast is to help more women find freedom from food and body. If this has empowered or blessed you, let me know. I'd be honored for your rating and review of my show, and I'd love to connect with you in my private Facebook community. You really can move from perfection to purpose. Let's break the chains together. I'll help navigate the way. Until next time, bye for now, girl.